In D.C. this week, the unprecedented scramble to seat a House Speaker became even more urgent. Without one, Congress remains paralyzed to act on aid on anything, foreign or domestic. Congresswoman Maria Salazar, Republican repping Miami to Kendall and member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, right here with us live. Congresswoman, it is so good to see you. It's been too long.
I know. So happy to be with you, Glenna.
So you are on the Foreign Affairs Committee, so what a great brain to pick this morning. Can you bring us up to date with, I know your committee was briefed, especially where the Americans involved are concerned and the hostages, Americans among them.
Yes, and the number one message that we need to send from Washington, specifically to Iran, is that if by any chance one of the American hostages is killed or one of its proxies, Hezbollah or Hamas, maims or kills one of our American personnel in the Middle East, the consequences will be dire. We have to send a very strong message from Washington, united Republicans with Democrats, to Iran, saying that do not take advantage of what's happening in Israel, specifically Hezbollah, because we cannot have a second front in the north and a third front in Syria that happens to be another puppet of Iran. So these are very complicated times that we have to send a very strong message.
So the message that the consequences will be dire. As we speak, there are American warships in the Mediterranean staging.
Yeah.
Can you detail that? What does the consequences will be dire mean in practical terms? How far would you support American military and civilians go?
If I were the president, believe me, and you don't want to hear what I would do, but that belongs to the White House. But the White House, if you think about it, in only 3 years, the Biden administration, and this is nothing to do with parties, because you've had other Democratic administrations who have stepped up to the plate. But the reality is that now we have two regional wars because of the weakness and the message that is so feeble coming from the White House. President Biden has to say unequivocally, we are not going to let Iran behave the way it is. Look about the $6 billion that we gave them. And now I understand that they're going to return it, but they knew that they could use that money in something else. Look at the fact, I'm not sure if you know that the DOD, let me just give you this piece of information. 6 months ago, DOD told us that Iran was ready to have a nuclear weapon in 2 weeks. That was 6 months ago. So what about now? What about Syria? This thing that, and you're asking me about information we have. One of the things that I can share is that the Biden administration told us that there are no empirical evidence that demonstrates that Iran was behind this surprise attack. That's unimportant. Iran has given weapons, equipment, training
a couple of things
for years.
Okay, yeah. a couple of things just so we can make this a conversation. The war, we had talked about the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel and Gaza are kind of apples and oranges at the moment, vis-a-vis the history and reason. The $6 billion that you mentioned, I know, is in play in conversation as part of the Saudi, Israeli, U.S. deal with Iran, and has, to your point now, is coming back. I just wanted to just put a little period on the end of that sentence. But I also wanted to ask you if you can confirm, Congresswoman, that last night Iran sent a message to Israel through the UN that it will intervene if there is a ground invasion. Can you confirm that message? What do you know?
I cannot confirm or deny what you're telling me, but going back to, because we need to get back to Washington, we'll be there tomorrow. But I'll get back to you and I'll let you know so you can report it to the viewers. But I want to tell you something that I think that you should look at this angle. What's happening in Israel is not an isolated event. We're talking about the axis of evil: Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. And all they're doing is ganging up against us, against the West, against Israel, and against the United States and Europe. If we really believe that we are dealing with Europeans, that this Shiite militias are people that have the same values that we have, that they don't consider death as a form of worship, that they want to destroy not only Israel, but the United States because we are the infidels. We got to wake up and we got to understand that we're not dealing with people like us.
So
These people have another set of values.
So in not unrelated, when you go back to Washington tomorrow, I want to talk a little bit about how far you are one of the quote unquote moderate Republicans in the House. There is news as this drama over the speaker unfolds that our national partners are covering quite well. You personally and your colleagues in South Florida, where are you in picking a speaker? Do you back someone like Jim Jordan? Are you part of those who are thinking maybe with the Democrats there might be an unprecedented kind of coalition government deal? I mean, where are you on that spectrum?
I'm not opposed to either one. We need to open the doors of the House of Representatives. We have to pass a resolution standing with Israel. We have to continue funding the government. We have November 17th right there. We have to make sure that there is not a shutdown and that the government will be funded. So there's business to be conducted. So whomever becomes the speaker, according to the majority, I will be there. I supported Kevin McCarthy. He should have never been kicked out. I supported Scalise. He should have had the votes. I am supporting Jim Jordan, Patrick McHenry. If the conference just cannot get to the 217, then I'm one of the proponents to give special forces or special powers to the temporary speaker, Patrick McHenry, to start conducting business until we can figure it out. We're pretty democratic, but it comes to a point where we have to stop this, find the replacement, and continue doing the American people's business.
So maybe tomorrow you give me a call and let me know what happens while you're there. Congresswoman Maria Salazar, always great to have you on the program.
Thanks to you for the opportunity.
Of course. Take care.